Ever realize Massachusetts conceals a gigantic peninsula sculpted by glaciers more than 20,000 years back? Or that Earth's biggest whales migrate right along its shores each year? And those peaks towering in the west, they're part of one of the planet's most ancient ranges. This state goes way beyond colonial villages and revolution lore. It's a realm forged by fierce natural powers, crashing Atlantic waves, timeless peaks, and terrain reshaped by the final ice age. Buckle up. We're diving into 35 mind-blowing geographic wonders of this incredible place. Believe us, the closing ones will shock even locals who've lived here forever. Fact 35. The vanished villages under 1 billion gallons of water. Right in central Massachusetts sits the Quabbin Reservoir, the state's biggest inland water body. But get this, it wasn't around even 100 years ago. In the 1930s, with Boston booming and thirsting for more drinking water, officials took a radical step, drowning a whole valley to build a huge supply. The effort was daring, divisive, and massively disruptive. 4 full towns got wiped off the map: Dana, Enfield, Greenwich, and Prescott. Thousands of folks had to abandon homes, farms, and family legacies spanning generations as the basin gradually submerged. Now, the reservoir seems like pristine wilds, with serene woods encircling vast expanses of water. Yet under its chilly depths hides a submerged history. Dive deep, and you'd spot remnants of those lost settlements: faded roads, basement ruins, stone bases from daily life. It's an eerie testament to humanity's drive to alter the earth for advancement. Fact 34. The peak offering views of 5 states in one glance. Towering over western Massachusetts woodlands stands Mount Greylock, the state's loftiest summit at 3,491 feet. Sure, it's no match for the colossal Rockies, but its magic is in the spot. Isolated from bigger ridges nearby, the vista from the top is shockingly expansive. On a sharp, haze-free day, the scene sprawls way past state lines, undulating Massachusetts hills, verdant Vermont ridges, remote New Hampshire whites, New York's craggy uplands, and even Connecticut's distant fringe. Bottom line, one summit lets you plant feet in Massachusetts while eyeing 5 states. It's among New England's top natural overlooks. Fact 33. Giant rock basins etched by prehistoric streams. Head to the tiny hamlet of Chalurn Falls, and you'll find one of Massachusetts' weirdest rock formations, the Shelburne Falls Glacial Potholes. Forget the pesky road dips after snowmelt. These are colossal round craters gouged into bedrock. Over 50 cluster along the river, the biggest nearly 40 feet wide. Formed around 14,000 years ago as ice sheets thawed from the last glacial era, torrenting waters surged valley-wide, hauling boulders and grit. The cool twist? Eddies snagged those stones in bedrock dips, whirling them like living augers. Over millennia, they bored deeper and broader. The outcome? Terrain resembling colossal handiwork, as though some huge ladle hollowed sleek round bowls from the stream bed, crafting an odd array of glossy pools and buffed stone. Fact 32. The peculiar boxy notch on the south boundary. Glance at a Massachusetts map, and something quirky pops on the southern rim. A compact square indentation jutting into Connecticut. Dubbed the Southwick Jog, this odd border twist has baffled cartographers for ages. Its origin traces to colonial days. From 1642 to 1804, the line between the colonies was shoddily mapped and hotly contested. Without precise tools, surveyors botched readings left and right. Errors snowballed, boundaries veered off, and rival assertions muddied the divide. Ground Zero was a mere 2-square-mile sliver near Southwick town. small as it was. It ignited years of quarrels and court fights between the colonies. In time, much of the border got fixed and aligned properly, yet Southwick's folks firmly advocated staying with Massachusetts over Connecticut. In the end, they got their way. These days, that compact square notch still juts into the straight line of the boundary, serving as an odd geographic echo of colonial mix-ups and age-old haggling. Fact 31. The volcanic ridge running the wrong direction. Western Massachusetts features the oddball Holyoke Range, a mountain chain that defies typical geography. While most North American ranges stretch north-south, this one slices east-west, popping right off the map. It emerged roughly 200 million years back in the Triassic and Jurassic eras amid fierce volcanism and drifting tectonic plates that reworked the area. Primarily built from sturdy, dark basalt, aka trap rock, that once surged as liquid lava over the ground. Through eons, nearby softer sedimentary layers wore down, but the tough volcanic stuff held firm, forming a jagged, elevated backbone towering over the valley floor. The real intrigue lies in its creation. It perches atop a huge tilted fault block, hoisted and slanted by deep earth pressures, yielding sheer drops and striking inclines. Those harsh traits fostered special microclimates on the bluffs and crests, sheltering uncommon plants absent elsewhere nearby. Essentially, the Holyoke Range stands as a colossal volcanic survivor, a time-worn geologic wonder on full display for ages. Fact 30. A Jurassic playground etched in stone, predating humans by eons. The Connecticut River Valley was utterly transformed back then. In the early Jurassic, it was a steamy, marshy lowland, teeming with big reptiles trudging over soggy flats. Its sunken position and constant silt deposits made ideal footprint traps. Those sludgy flats eventually turned to sandstone, sealing old steps into stone like a snapshot from deep time. Massachusetts now boasts one of Earth's biggest troves of dino tracks. And they're not fuzzy relics. These are crisp, with distinct three-toed prints from beasts like Dilophosaurus and the pint-sized Growlator. Stranger still, 1800s discoverers misread them as giant ancient bird marks, not dino steps. It took years of analysis to peg them as traces from fearsome meat-eaters that ruled the turf. Visiting these spots today lets you gaze at the very ground a huge predator trod some 200 million years ago, bringing the area's buried history right into view. Fact 29. The sunken hills dotting Boston Harbor. Boston Harbor hides a captivating string of 34 islands and peninsulas, tracing origins to the latest ice age. They're rare drumlins, sleek tapered mounds molded by creeping ice, composed of glacial till-like clay, sand, gravel, and rocks bulldozed into heaps by colossal ice walls. Imagine dragging a spoon's edge through wet clay. That's the teardrop form of a drumlin. Over 15,000 years past, mile-high glaciers inched over future Boston terrain, molding sediment mounds streamlined to their path. The kicker came post-melt. Rising seas swamped the gaps between drumlins. Lowlands vanished underwater, exposing just the hill crests. Now those summits are the Boston Harbor Islands, the world's sole spot with a half-drowned drumlin swarm. A stunning ice-forged vista frozen in time. Fact 28. An island born from a vast glacier's fringe. The renowned summer retreat Martha's Vineyard exists thanks to a colossal glacier's raw power. Roughly 21,000 years back, the enormous Laurentide ice sheet advanced south over North America, coming to a halt with its front edge exactly where Martha's Vineyard sits now. Along that icy front line, The glacier functioned like a sluggish conveyor, dragging massive loads of rocks, dirt, and rubble scraped up from northern landscapes. Hitting its farthest reach, the ice released all that material into a single giant mound. Scientists refer to such a deposit as a terminal moraine, creating the bumpy, undulating ridge that defines the island's western flank. A standout outcome of this action appears in the striking Aquina Cliffs, built from old clay layers and fossil-packed sediments forced up from the seabed by the glacier's relentless plowing. These elements craft the signature rises and bluffs that characterize the island presently. If the glacier hadn't paused precisely there eons ago, Martha's Vineyard probably wouldn't exist. It'd just be another drowned section of the continental shelf under the Atlantic. Fact 27. The giant sandy hook stretching into the Atlantic. Folks often picture Cape Cod as a ribbon of stunning beaches, yet geologically, it's a huge glacial arm jutting some 65 miles into the Atlantic. Similar to nearby islands, it took shape millennia ago from the Laurentide ice sheet's withdrawal. About 18,000 years ago, as the ice thawed and retreated, it dropped vast quantities of sand, gravel, and rocks. Those built broad outwash fans that grew into the landform we recognize today. However, the Cape's iconic hook-like end by Provincetown didn't come straight from the glacier. Rather, it's the product of ongoing ocean action sculpting the shore over thousands of years. For around the past 6,000 years, waves and currents have eroded sections of the peninsula, shuttling sand north via longshore drift. This nonstop shifting means Cape Cod isn't static. Some beaches expand with buildup, others erode and vanish bit by bit. Put simply, the Cape remains a dynamic, evolving landform, continually molded by Atlantic storms. Fact 26. The African wanderer resting on Plymouth's coast. Plymouth Rock is famed as the Pilgrim's landing site, but its rock-embedded saga outdoes any human legend. Experts label this boulder a glacial erratic, a huge stone snatched by a glacier from its origin and abandoned elsewhere. The twist? Plymouth Rock's granite isn't native to New England. Its mineral signature aligns with African rocks. Indeed, this chunk hailed from Africa, part of a continent across the globe hundreds of millions of years ago, back when lands formed the supercontinent Pangaea. As Pangaea split, this bit of African bedrock hitched a ride, ultimately settling silently on future North American shores. Fact 25. The lethal sand traps lurking beneath the waves. Right off Nantucket's shore hides one of the North Atlantic's most dangerous secrets. Called the Nantucket Shoals, these vast underwater sandbars and hills extend nearly 40 miles seaward. Certain areas plunge to just 3 feet deep, making them a centuries-old shipwreck trap. Local currents don't just ebb and flow. They whirl in fierce loops, perpetually reworking the bottom. The craziest detail? The shoals are so risky that the International Maritime Organization advises big ships to avoid them, designating the zone among the sea's deadliest stretches. Fact 24. The lake with America's longest name. Nestled in Webster is a lake boasting a quirky claim, the U.S.'s longest official geographic name. Locals shorten it to Webster Lake, but the full moniker, Lake Chargoga Gogmanchauga Gogchaubanagu Ngamaug, clocks in at 45 letters. Rooted in Nipmuc tongue, it loosely means underscore underscore quote underscore zero, underscore underscore the kicker. The epic name gained fame in the early 1900s, largely through a humorous promo gimmick. A newspaper editor from the area once quipped that it translates to something along the lines of, quote, 1, Though that's largely a fun bit of folklore, the name carries real roots in Native American tradition, acknowledged officially for more than 100 years. Now it serves as an odd yet legitimate spot on the map, perfect for baffling folks attempting to jot down a postcard from the edges of this picturesque lake dotted with islands. Fact 23. Bashbish Falls and nature's spectacular drop. Nestled in the state's extreme southwest amid the Taconic Mountains, Bashbish Falls claims the crown as the region's highest single-drop waterfall. Cascading water rushes over jagged stone steps before diving almost 60 feet into a pristine emerald pool at the base. This awe-inspiring natural wonder formed gradually as Ice Age runoff roared through the tight canyon, etching the terrain from tough metamorphic bedrock. The encircling bluffs consist of durable schist, a tough rock that's resisted wear much better than surrounding softer formations. And get this, the falls straddle the Massachusetts-New York line. The prime viewing spots fall on the Massachusetts side, but its isolated position lends a sense of ancient, secluded wilderness, mostly undisturbed since glaciers pulled back about 12,000 years ago, a raw, jagged foil to the nearby soft, undulating farmlands. Fact 22. The massive sand dunes gobbling up woodlands. Right at Cape Cod's outermost point, the terrain swaps classic New England vibes for a scene straight out of the desert. Vast dunes sprawl over thousands of acres, endlessly reshaped by brutal Atlantic gusts. Composed of powdery glacial sediment left behind around 18,000 years ago, they've been whipped into huge parabolic ridges by unceasing winds. The real kicker, these dunes aren't fixed. They're on the move, inching eastward a few feet annually. As they march forward, they gradually bury stands of pitch pine and oak, creating spooky ghost forests of sand-choked tree skeletons. It makes for an eerily stunning vista in constant flux, underscoring nature's might in turning the seemingly eternal into something utterly altered over geological moments. Fact 21. Billingsgate Island, the town lost to the waves. Back in the 1800s, Billingsgate Island off Wellfleet's shore hosted a lively fishing hamlet. In its heyday, it featured over 30 houses, a one-room school, and a prominent lighthouse steering vessels safely across Cape Cod Bay's tricky shoals. But the surprise? It was essentially a giant, vulnerable glacial spit battered by the sea. By the early 1900s, brutal storms, surging tides, and endless scouring had wiped Billingsgate off the chart. These days, it peaks out only at ultra-low tides as muddy shallows littered with stray bricks from vanished structures, a chilling testament to how fleeting human outposts prove against nature's relentless grind, shifting sands, and Atlantic swells. Fact 20. The Connecticut River and its valley's odd eastward lean. New England's longest river, the Connecticut snakes north to south through Massachusetts, etching one of America's most productive valleys. Its shaping kicked off about 200 million years ago amid continental splitting when the crust pulled apart and dropped, forming a deep rift. Rather than blazing its own trail like most rivers, it tracks this old fault right down the state's core. Here's the head-scratcher. The channel slopes faintly eastward, eroding the east bank way quicker than the west. Paired with eons of deposits from a long-vanished glacial lake that swamped the basin, this has yielded a vast, level floodplain loaded with world-class farming dirt, silt and clay echoing tales of bygone ice and floods. Fact 19. The secret marble spine under the verdant Berkshire Hills. Surface level, the Berkshire Hills charm, with their wooded slopes and peaceful vistas. Underground, though, hides a gem, pristine white marble. This premium material crystallized over 500 million years back in the tectonic orogeny, when crushing heat and force turned primordial limestone into lustrous metamorphic rock. A concealed vein of marble runs through the state's western region, providing material for some of America's most famous structures. And get this, the dazzling white stone that forms the enormous pillars of the U.S. Capitol and the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. came straight from quarries in the tiny town of Lee. Put another way, the rocks of Massachusetts are literally built into the design of the country's key landmarks. Fact 18. Beneath 5 miles of solid mountain in the northwest Hoosiack Range hides a gruesome chasm known as one of the 19th century's boldest engineering triumphs. The Hoosiack Tunnel bores 5 miles through tough metamorphic rock, creating an essential rail connection to the west. Work kicked off in 1851 and lasted a brutal 24 years, using risky new explosives such as nitroglycerin. And the real shocker, the mountain's rock was so tough that about 200 laborers died on the job, earning it the dark label, the Bloody Pit. Nearby summits consist of virtually unbreakable gneiss and schist, resisting all tools and methods of the time. Even now, this passage serves as a key route for freight trains, cutting through terrain that was once blocked by sheer, dangerous slopes. Fact 17. The engineered waterway that isolated a peninsula as an island. In 1914, finishing the Cape Cod Canal forever reshaped the area's layout. Prior to this huge project, Cape Cod was merely a hooked arm of land, making ships navigate the deadly shoals around its tip. Engineers sliced a ditch across the thinnest section of land, producing the planet's broadest sea-level canal with 0 locks. And the mind-blower, this man-made passage transformed the whole Cape into a true island, encircled by water. At 7 miles long, it harnesses the tide shifts between Cape Cod Bay and Buzzards Bay, whipping up flows as fast as 6 miles per hour. Beyond rerouting vessels, this fake river reshaped the local environment and state's outline, carving a permanent split from the mainland to the shore arm. Fact 16. The expansive salt marsh functioning as nature's huge purifier. Stretching from Gloucester to the New Hampshire line, the Great Marsh ranks as New England's biggest unbroken salt marsh. Covering more than 20,000 acres, its maze of tidal channels, muddy expanses, and salt grass acts as a vital shield for the shore. It started developing around 4,000 years back, after Ice Age seas settled, letting mud build up and marsh vegetation grab hold in the intertidal zone. And the amazing thing, it soaks up floodwaters from storms like a giant blotter and cleans toxins before they hit the sea. As a geologic feature, this dynamic fertile system gets constantly remolded by tides that deliver food and flush out waste. Absent this huge verdant barrier, the North Shore would face the Atlantic's full fury unprotected. Fact 15. The spooky rocks of Dogtown and its forsaken Ice Age behemoths. Nestled in central Cape Ann is Dogtown, a rough, untamed spot littered with huge boulders. It's a terminal moraine, a spot where retreating glaciers dumped countless tons of stone during their thaw. The broken stony ground proved too harsh for pioneers to cultivate, so they ditched the settlement by the early 1800s. And the crazy turn, in the Great Depression, a wealthy local paid jobless masons to etch motivational phrases onto scores of these boulders, creating an odd outdoor exhibit of rock-carved advice. Some stones rival the size of cottages, dragged hundreds of miles by long-ago ice. These days, Dogtown is a tangled wood and boulder maze where each moss-draped monolith recounts Massachusetts's icy history. Fact 14. The covert streams flowing under Boston's roads. Folks walking Boston's sidewalks rarely realize full river's course right below them. During the 1800 city boom, streams like Stony Brook got seen as barriers or hygiene threats. Instead of spanning them with bridges, builders boxed the waters into giant brick and concrete pipes, shoving them far underground amid the busy avenues. And the captivating detail, these buried waterways continue tracing their ancient paths to the sea, funneling millions of gallons of water daily through shadowy underground conduits. In Boston's historic districts, if you look closely, the meandering roads subtly mimic the long-lost twists of these submerged streams. Fact 13. The Teton River and its bold reversal. Among the state's standout natural wonders, the Teton River shines as one of America's few major waterways that stayed mostly untamed, untouched by big dams or intense development. It winds across a huge southeastern valley, famous for its stunning variety of life. Yet the real oddity comes next. The river's tidal influence stretches almost 18 miles inland from the Atlantic. And get this, since the Teton lies so low and level, seawater surges upstream at high tide, forming a unique brackish area where salt and fresh species mingle. Twice a day, the current actually flips direction, bucking the typical downhill to the ocean rule. That creates a dynamic patchwork of wetlands and tidal flats, a landscape in perpetual flux, unlike anything else around. Fact 12. The Monadnock rising solo over the Central Plateau. Jutting dramatically from the Heartland Plateau, Mount Wet exemplifies a monadnock, a lone peak enduring while the surrounding earth erodes away over eons. As ice and streams gnaw at the nearby ground, Wet's top holds firm, shielded by its ultra-durable quartz diorite. The stunning view? From the summit, spot Boston's skyline eastward and the Berkshire summits westward, despite the distance. This lone giant serves as a natural divider between coastal plains and wild inland, a key beacon for birds on the move and people crossing the state's core. Fact 11. Purgatory Chasm and the epic tear in granite bedrock. Near Sutton, Purgatory Chasm runs a quarter-mile, resembling a colossal axe blow that cleaved the ground apart. This geological marvel is a huge crack in solid granite gneiss, born about 14,000 years back. As the Laurentide ice sheet pulled away fast, torrents of meltwater blasted through existing fissures with ferocious power. The sheer hydraulic force ripped the rock wide open, leaving sheer walls up to 70 feet tall. And the wildest detail, massive boulders tumbled from the edges amid the chaos, crafting a maze of caves and tight squeezes, dubbed things like Fat Man's Misery. Fact 10. The Blackstone River's record-breaking plunge in the area. The Blackstone River looks serene at first, but its profile hides a wild ride. From Worcester to Rhode Island, it plummets 438 feet across only 48 miles, one of the region's sharpest drops. That steep pitch builds huge momentum as the water races through tight gorges and over jagged drops, etched by ancient glacial floods long ago. Flanked by tough metamorphic stone, the river twists vigorously instead of drifting lazily. Here's the kicker. Per mile drop in feet, it crushes even the Mississippi's final stretches. That raw power drew 19th century innovators who lined its shores with mills, fueling the Industrial Revolution's engine. Even now, its torrent proves how bold terrain can steer history's course. A subtle surface over hidden might. Fact 9. The Elizabeth Islands, the secretive southern chain. Sure, Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket grab the fame, but off Falmouth's southwest tip hides a stealthier lineup, the Elizabeth Islands. This 16-isle string defines the state's ocean border, the glacier's outermost push that molded Cape Cod. Like the outer Cape, they're built from terminal moraines, giant heaps of stone, clay, and sand dumped as ice retreated. Up close, they're no mere dunes, but towering mounds of rubble, grit, and dirt bulldozed by prehistoric glaciers. Mostly held by one family, they've stayed rugged and untouched, worlds apart from crowded tourist shores. And here's the astonishing part. The passages linking these islands, called Quote 3 by locals, hide serious dangers beneath their calm surface. Powerful tidal flows rush water from Buzzards Bay toward the open Atlantic, whipping up wild whirlpools, swirling eddies, and sudden bursts of current. For hundreds of years, these waters have tested even seasoned mariners, fostering a sense of remoteness in the chain that development has barely touched. In a real sense, the Elizabeth Islands feel frozen in another era, a vivid showcase of Ice Age might, fierce shoreline forces, and pristine landforms seldom seen by those beyond the area. Fact 8. Monument Mountain, piercing the tough quartzite backbone of the western ridges. Looming grandly over Great Barrington, it forms a sharp, light-colored crest against the lush green blanket of the Berkshire Hills. While nearby summits consist mainly of schist and limestone, this one stands out. Forged from Cheshire quartzite, a rock of exceptional toughness and resistance to weathering, born more than 500 million years ago. It started as sands from primordial beaches, then got buried deep, squeezed tight, and fired by extreme heat and pressure into an unyielding stone that has shrugged off eons of battering. And here's the captivating twist. As glaciers, downpours, and streams slowly gnawed away at the softer troughs and flanks encircling Monument Mountain, the quartzite held firm. Across countless ages, that unyielding strength elevated it into a bold, serrated profile, ruling the western Berkshire horizon. Gazing from its sides, you can follow the eroded gullies that flanked it long ago, revealing hints of the colossal earth-shaping powers at work. It's far beyond just a peak. It's, Clear's throat omitted, a timeless natural testament. A jagged ridge chronicling lost oceans, ceaseless wearing, and rock's astonishing staying power. Fact 7. The Aquina Cliffs and the Rainbow concealed in coastal clay. Marking the far western tip of Martha's Vineyard, the Aquina Cliffs emerge as one of North America's most stunning and peculiar geological wonders. Soaring as high as 150 feet over the sea, they display a dazzling mosaic of red, yellow, white, and orange hues that shimmer vividly under the sun. Every stratum whispers tales from millions of years past, packed with relics of whales, camels, and sharks that prowled here eons before ice sheets descended. And here's the jaw-dropping revelation. These flat beds stayed hidden underground for tens of thousands of years until the giant Laurentide ice sheet, like a colossal grater, about 20,000 years back, shoved the old clay skyward. That glacial shove tipped the layers almost straight up, unveiling an ancient spectrum to weather and wondering gazes. Through ages, gusts, storms, and surf have kept carving them, crafting an ever-shifting vista of bright stripes and rough outlines. What emerges is a dynamic Earth history archive, where each yard of bared clay unfolds chapters on primordial waters, drifting land masses, and ice's brutal remake of the island's contours. Fact 6. The Blue Hills and long-ago volcanoes watching over Boston Harbor. Right south of Boston, The Blue Hills climb as a chain of soft-peaked heights, boasting the tallest points on the Atlantic seaboard from there down to Maine. They might look like peaceful wooded rises at first, but buried under that calm exterior pulses a volcanic legacy over 400 million years old. These are the eroded stubs of a vast volcanic chain that once spiked thousands of feet skyward above the flats, made of super tough igneous stuff like Quincy granite and Blue Hills rhyolite, the latter straight from fiery lava spews of yore. And here's the head-spinning detail. Their moniker comes from the faint blue shade the stones cast when viewed afar through haze, lending the whole line an otherworldly, spectral vibe above the harbor. That same ironclad strength let them defy the Ice Age glaciers that planed down most everything nearby. Consequently, the Blue Hills stood against the grind, preserving a rough, lofty profile that stayed mostly wild and unspoiled for ages. Now they double as a prime vantage on Boston and its waterfront, plus a breathing tribute to the area's molten origins, a nudge that serene exteriors can harbor the fury of lava peaks inside. Fact 5. Back Bay. How Boston snatched territory from the ocean. A big chunk of Boston's famed terrain is pure mirage, shaped by people instead of the wild. Back in the early 1800s, the Back Bay region looked nothing like the stylish district of row houses and broad boulevards we know today. Instead, it was a vast, foul-smelling tidal flat, twice the size of the original Boston, filled with endless mudflats and briny puddles. With urban space at a premium, developers hatched a daring plan that seemed straight out of fantasy: seize territory from the ocean. Beginning in the 1820s, Massachusetts kicked off one of the biggest city-building feats of the time. Workers filled in the wetlands using gravel, dirt, and debris, altering the shoreline and rerouting the Charles River to make room for fresh urban grids. This nonstop effort lasted almost 30 years, operating day and night. Dedicated rail lines transported millions of cubic yards of material from Needham's nearby hills and farther afield. Today, the area appears utterly organic, yet it's completely engineered, a shining example of sheer human grit and vision. Under those graceful brownstones and leafy boulevards sit countless wooden stakes pounded into the mushy-filled dirt. These hidden logs form a quiet, vital base. Should they ever lose moisture, the structures overhead might lean, split, or tumble. Strolling along Commonwealth Avenue or admiring the grand fronts, you're treading a grand feat of engineering. It's a metropolis that sprouted straight from the bogs, thumbing its nose at the natural world. Fact 4. The Merrimack River, a dynamic stream etching the north side. Far more than a mere boundary on a map, the Merrimack River has molded Massachusetts' northeast flank for thousands of years. It snakes past gritty factory towns, fueling factories, and driving commerce until it empties into the Atlantic at Newburyport. The true drama unfolds at its outlet, where the waterway bucks control and shifts unpredictably. The terrain consists of glacial deposits, sand, mud, and rubble from the Ice Age's close. On this unstable base, the Merrimack keeps redefining its course. A fierce storm or gale can shove it hundreds of feet across its estuary in a season, forging fresh routes while ditching the old. This endless flux makes boating hazardous. The elusive sandbars of the Japan Flats hide just underwater, their spots shifting with every surge of weather and current. Sailors face a channel that defies the map's assurances. In geological terms, the Merrimack still wrestles with Ice Age leftovers, seeking a steady route seaward. Each curve, silt-choked shoal, and Forsaken Path narrates a tale of aquatic defiance, where water battles earth and earth resists. Even mighty flows can't escape the eternal interplay of ground and surge. The Merrimack shows that nature's powers never fully calm, regardless of how much humanity paves over the surface. Fact 3. The Oxbow, when a river sliced itself apart. Tucked in the Connecticut River Valley by Northampton sits a vivid S-shaped pond called the Oxbow. It seems like a peaceful water mirror at first, but it stems from a wild tale of nature's haste. This spot perfectly illustrates a stream carving its own shortcut. Rivers typically wander in lazy bends across their floodplains over eons, forming broad arcs. Occasionally, though, events speed things up dramatically. In 1840, a ferocious deluge roared down the Connecticut, smashing through a thin land bridge and gouging a direct new path in mere days. Previously, the water looped in a massive 4-mile curve through the lowlands. Post-flood, that bend got severed from the current, stranded as a still lagoon. A once thundering river segment turned into a glassy, secluded reflection of the heavens. Beyond its scenic charm, the Oxbow stands as a tribute to fluvial force and caprice. It warns that calm streams can reshape terrain instantly when pushed. Now, as nearby fields and croplands enjoy quiet beauty, the Oxbow echoes a waterway's urge to break free, proving age-old rivers harbor bursts of bold revolt. Fact 2. Stelligen Bank, the underwater ridge nourishing the ocean. Between Cape Cod and Cape Ann sprawls Stellwagen Bank, a massive submerged shelf that's one of the planet's richest marine hotspots. Unlike the sharp summits of mountains on land, Stellwagen Bank forms a concealed underwater ridge that's mostly out of sight for the everyday viewer, yet it's vital to ocean vitality. Glaciers retreating millennia ago carved this feature, depositing a huge pile of sand, gravel, and rocks. Even as nearby waters drop hundreds of feet, the bank's crest sits only 65 feet beneath the waves, crafting a subsea mound that dramatically influences the waters overhead. The real wonder of this sunken plateau lies in its dynamic with ocean flows. When chilly, nutrient-packed deep waters sweep along the seafloor, they collide with the bank's sudden slope and get pushed skyward through upwelling. This natural lift hauls vital nutrients right into the sun-drenched zone, fueling a plankton feast, the base of the sea's food web. Plankton draws an explosion of life. Fish shoals teem, dolphins dart and breach, whales congregate in huge pods, tracking those currents annually like an unseen feast signal. Beyond a mere dining spot, Stellwagen Bank links the vast Atlantic to the protected inlets of Massachusetts Bay. It supports wandering marine creatures, juvenile fish in secure breeding areas, and the odd shark, all relying on its special layout. Under the surface, this underwater peak masterfully directs one of Earth's richest marine hotspots. It shows how, even in the ocean depths, landforms dominate. And distinct from earthly ranges bathed in light, this one molds whole habitats from the shadows below. Fact 1. The New England Seamounts, a secret lineup of subsea behemoths. Massachusetts earns fame for its gentle hills and rugged shores, but its most awe-striking peaks tie to the state invisibly, lost far under the Atlantic. Extending offshore is the New England Seamount chain, a stunning lineup of over 30 extinct underwater volcanoes formed about 100 million years back. Far from simple seafloor rises, their immense summits shaped by the North American plate's gradual crawl across a fiery mantle hotspot. As the plate shifted, it abandoned volcano after volcano, forming a string of drowned colossi, each a testament to primordial Earth forces. Their immense size boggles the mind. Certain ones soar over 13,000 feet from the seabed, almost quadruple the stature of Massachusetts' loftiest land peaks. Still, unlike visible ridges we hike, these giants dwell in gloom, their tops veiled by water miles deep. The astonishing twist? In their remoteness, they buzz with ecosystems, oases amid the desolate deep. Timeless corals, oddball sponges, and unique fish species hug their flanks, many exclusive to these spots. More than odd rocks, the seamounts act as abyssal refugees, biodiversity centers amid extreme depths and endless night. Currents eddy past, ferrying sustenance to nurture unseen life networks. They underscore that planet's boldest terrains often hide from view. The grandest heights may lurk unreachable, looming mutely in the void, molding ocean life and currents alike.